Hi, my name is Noel Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to do an update on our African Nightcrawler bins. Now I have two bins that I'm trying to use to increase the herd of my African Nightcrawlers. I did add a lot of worms to my hamster bedding for African Nightcrawlers, and that's doing really well. I'm finding a lot of worms in there. But I really want to see how this is going with my other systems. I have two bins, as I said. I removed all the worms I could from one bin, and I want to see if there's any left in there. Last time it didn't look good after a month. And then I have the second system, which dried out a little bit too much. I'm wondering if all the worms actually kind of crawled up over the sides and into the other system in the middle with the hamster bedding. But I just want to check and see if any of these really do have anything left over in there for worms. And maybe we'll consolidate them into one system and try to get them working again and try to get them to expand this herd, which is my ultimate goal with these worms, is to build up a large contingent of African Nightcrawlers to start eating through the cardboard that I have. So with that, let's take a look at the initial system. Now this is the one that we had, it was almost entirely converted into castings. We added in a small cardboard section for any hatchings that come out and kind of, cocoons, and they can move over to a new system. Let's take a look and see if we find any large worms there or worms at all. And then we'll take a look at the system we moved some large worms into at the end of all this and see if there's anything left in there as well. So with that, let's take a look at the first system. Alright, here's the first bin we're going to look at here. And this is my initial bin. As you can tell, the date where I took out the worms was 9/12. And then we've got 10/12 for our first update. And then we have today, and I'm going to leave these all on here right now, but I'm going to put this right here. Today is the 9th of November, so we're a little short on the 30 days or the month-long update, but let's just take a look on here. First off, this does look a little bit dry on top. You can see a little bit of moisture in there. I do have a container, by the way, right nearby. I'm going to take the worms out of there unless there's a whole lot in here. Well, actually, even if there's a whole lot, I'll take them out still. But I want to dig through this and see how this is going right now. So, first off, we're going to just kind of dig in right here. It feels really dry by these sides. Like if you can see right here, this material is very, very dry. It's probably too dry for worms, really. So we're going to probably have to add some moisture to this as well. Let's just dig right here in this middle. Oh, we found our first worm here. So remember, I took out, oops, I lost them already. I took out all the big worms I could originally. So, got our first worm here already. Looks like a nice, healthy worm. Not moving quite as much, but it is moving. So we're going to put that little guy in there. We're just going to continue going through this. Up more in here. This is a good sign. I was really worried because the last time we checked, I don't think I found any worms in here at all, really. And I just sort of want to go through and start collecting these worms and make sure we're getting a good balance in the systems here, and also make sure we're getting more cocoons and more worms. Up more in here. This one looks very healthy and active. There was another one in here too that I thought I saw right here. So this one's a little smaller. It's still an African, I could tell because of the coloring. It's a lot darker than most of my other worms, but it's a lot smaller. So that one's probably not quite an adult from the look of it. We just continue digging through here. Let's just get to this corner over here. I've usually found a lot of times they like the corners, but apparently not this time though. Not seeing any worms in this corner over here. I'll just scoop that off to the side. Oh, here's one right here. Another smaller one. So they are multiplying in here. I don't think those are coming in from the other containers next door. Now, I'm not being exactly thorough with this. Oh, one more right here. So, but I'm just trying to get an idea of how many large worms are in here compared to, the none that I had when I first, or mostly none that I had when I first tried to get this. So here's another large one. And we're just doing this really quickly. I'm not trying to be exact. Oop. Couple of them here. There's another one. And here's one right here. Again, a little smaller on this one. Not quite as long as some of the others. But they are multiplying in here, which is a good sign. That means that there were some cocoons left in here. Hopefully they didn't just migrate over, but there was some cocoons. They hatched, and they're slowly spreading in here again. So here's another one. Again, slightly smaller, not quite as big as some of the other ones that I've had. I mean, and I tried to, and part of the reason why I'm moving them out of here is that way they can continue to multiply, but also they get a little bit more space. I really wanted them to have that area that they can kind of go into and spread out. Okay, here we go. Now this one looks, here we go. There's two more right here. Hopefully that's nice and, Actually, let me just move this out of the way too. Let me move this out of the way. That might help with the, looks like the white balance or the brightness is off. There we go. That looks a little better to me even on the screen there. There's another one right here, if I can get him. There we go. Got her. All right. Let's just see here. Another one right here. Again, a little bit small on these, but we are finding quite a few in here, which means that they're also moving through this material, which is what I want them to do. I really need to start moving through more and more cardboard in my basement here. I've got way too much. I'm using the hamster bedding, which is great. I like the fact that I'm going through that as well and not throwing it out anymore. But I really, really need to move through cardboard here. So, got quite a few in here. What's interesting is that there's not as much bedding in this section over here, so I'm surprised we're finding this many. I'm hoping that in this section over here we'll find even more. Another one right there. So far, just so you can see here, this is what we have out of this system. So we are getting some out of here. And this is not exact. We definitely are missing some. I shouldn't even say might. We definitely are. All right, 1, 2, and a third one down here. There we go. These are all, as I said, just a tiny bit smaller than the ones that came in my initial shipment that came in. But, all right, I think we're going to start going into this section right now, which looks a little bit more dry than in the other section. We're going to start mixing this up a little bit more even. This is too dry, so we're going to have to moisten this a little bit too with some water before we decide what we're going to do here. Oh, here's a worm right here. Oops. There we go. Again, just not quite as long. I mean, I've had them as long as my hand here when I first got them. So some of these are definitely shorter. And oh, here's the sponge that we had in here. I was going to see if they would eat this sponge. I thought that, especially as this can absorb moisture, I thought it might help spread that out. They have not really taken to eating that. Here's some food that I added on this side. And it looks like this is a peel of a watermelon, and that's pretty much gone. I know that sometimes those have wax on them. It can take a while to break down. Oh. There we go, another worm right here. Just slowly going through here. Here's another couple. 2. Oh, here, there's 1. 2. 3. This one's a real baby right here. Look at this one. I don't think it's a red, but it's a lot smaller than the other one, so we'll leave them in here. I don't know about the coloring on that one either. It looks a little bit different. I bet that's an African though. It looks like the banding is a little bit tighter than what it would be on a red. So anyhow, I'm going to keep them in there. Let's just continue going through here. Quite a few here in this section right here where the food was, which is good. Oh, that one's a very lively one right there, flipping around like crazy. So they do like food, even though they tend to like the cardboard, I know. Again, these are all smaller, but there's a bunch of them in this corner right here. There's 3 or 4 over here. You can really see they're moving around, nice and happy. This one's a bigger one. Nice, fully developed parts over there. Looks like there's a tiny one on here too. If you can see that, if it'll focus, right there. A little worm right there. I'm pretty sure that is an African Nightcrawler as well. So it shows that there's some babies in here, which means we do have cocoons somewhere. I'm not as familiar looking with them. I know that they look a little different than the lemon seed ones. Another worm right here. So we actually have quite a few in here, more than I thought. I was worried that this would be kind of empty. Got a couple more right here. So this is actually looking a little better than I thought. I was really worried that the last time I checked, hold on here. I lost it. Nope, I still have it. Hold on. I'm wondering, now somebody else might be able to answer, but is that a cocoon right there? Because that doesn't look like anything I added to my systems. So right there, it looks like it's either that or it's a rock or something, but I don't know. Doesn't look like something I added to the system. And here we go. Here's a whole bunch here in this corner where there's a lot of liquid and moisture. So, as I said, this is very surprising. I really thought, I was really worried after the last time I checked. I didn't find really anything in here. They are going after this food though, which is good. So there we go. There's a nice active one as well. And hopefully they laid more cocoons in here and I'm just missing them. As I said, I'm just not as familiar looking for cocoons for Africans as I am for my reds. So there we go. Nice healthy worms in here. There's another one that I just saw moving over here somewhere. Another couple. So there we go. 2 more right there. And let's see here. All right, another one. Look at that. So with this, all right, so we're going to say, oh, wait, hold on, one more. There we go. Nice healthy one right there too. With this, I'm going to say that, you know what, I might need more food in this system as well. Oh, here's another couple. Right there. Another one right here. So we got a couple more here. But I probably missed some definitely going through here, but overall this looks really good. I'm glad that I got this many. I mean, look here how many I got. So that's a lot more than I expected to come out of this system. I really thought that there'd be very few to none, and there was actually quite a few in here. Now, I think what we're going to do for right now is we're just going to leave this as is. We're going to put this sponge back on the bottom. We're going to kind of cover all this stuff back up, spread it out a little bit. There's still a lot of cardboard in here. I'd like to see it work through a little bit more before I stop using this system or replenish it with maybe fresh cardboard. So what we're going to do right now, let me make sure this is buried in there. That looks like a piece of something. Don't want to have fruit flies. We're just going to spread this out a little bit, and then I think we're going to add some water. It seems a little bit dry in here. So let me grab my cup, add some water here. This water does have my BTI in it mix. So I'm just going to grab my bucket here, bring it up so it's a little closer. And we're going to add some water here and really kind of saturate this a little bit. Because there wasn't a whole lot of water in some areas of this system. And this is going to just help keep it there. Alright, so I think that's good. And no, I'm not really measuring how much water I put in. I could just tell it was dry because it was dry sides, there was dry paper, there's dry stuff in there. So I'm just adding water because it was dry. Now I could mix this up a little bit just to see. The top is definitely a little bit more moist than the center or the lower sections, but the water is going to saturate down slowly and get everything else a little bit more moist. So I don't really want to fully saturate it as I have done in the past. Now with that, I'm going to put these worms back in. This is not quite as many as I thought, or it's more than I thought would be in the system, but I really want to make sure that they continue to work through this system. So I'm just going to add these guys back in. Look, you can see right there, that's a good handful of worms. Look at that. That looks like a nice, healthy dose of worms in here. So we're going to put these right back on top right here, let them dig through the system, and we'll see how many we get out of our next bin. But first off, let's put this piece of cardboard back on top. Actually, we're going to put this right over the center here. Hopefully they'll start working on this as well. I probably should have saturated this. In fact, you know what? I think I'm going to dunk this in the water and then put it back in here just to get this a little bit wet as well. There we go. Now this is nice and moist as well. Hopefully that'll help them break that down, because I would really like to see them start breaking down all the cardboard in here. I'd like to see everything sort of broken down and gone, and that way we can kind of refresh this system, move all the worms out, maybe give a little bit of little time for the baby worms to come out, and then we can harvest one more time and put this off to the side and refresh it. With that, now let's go to the second system where I moved a lot of these large worms and see how that's doing. Alright, here we are with the other system right here. And the first thing we're going to do is, just as we did with the other system, is we're going to put on a piece of tape to mark the date. As you can see here, 9/12 and 10/12. We've got a piece of tape right here. Let me just rip this off. And we've got our 11/9 date. Now, we're going to see how many worms we find in here. This might need to be also, I'm going to have the same container here. We're going to go through and see how it comes out. And there is a chance that I might pull all these worms and add them to the other system depending on how many are in here and how this system looks. First off, this is very, very dry, which is not a good sign. I know I've added water to this. I know I've added different things, but it just still seems like it's dry and too dry really for worms. So let's just check in here. Oh, already our first worm. Look at this guy. Oh my gosh. This is what I'm used to seeing though for these African Nightcrawlers here. If I can get him off my glove there. Look at that. He's curled around, but he'd easily be the entire size of my hand right there. So these guys are nice and big. It looks like right now. For the first one, let's start in this corner over here. The corner is very, very dry. This is too dry probably to have worms in it. Yeah, I'm not seeing any. Not surprisingly. Let's check over here. Again, same thing. Kind of a little bit of moisture in the bottom, but not too much. I think this is just too dry on this side. I think maybe we'll have to stick to this middle section where the lid was, or the plastic on top. So we'll just keep putting this off to the side. Just kind of dig through slowly, move it over to here. You can see how dry that is. It's crunchy. It's so dry. Which is not good because the worms can't work through it if it's that dry. So we're just going to move that off to the side over here. Feels a lot more moisture at the bottom here. Not much in here. A lot of moisture here at the bottom. But again, I'm not seeing anything in this bedding material. I was surprised we found one so quickly. I was hoping we'd find more after that, but apparently it might not be. So we'll kind of put that off to the side. See some springtails in the bottom here. Again, nothing on this one either. All right, here's another one over here. Oh, got away. All right, I missed him, but there was one over there. All right, we have a little bit extra room over here, so we'll kind of pile stuff over here. So I'm not seeing many in here. So if you see anything, you let me know in the comments down below. But I'm not seeing anything in here. Although I do see some of this material, or it looks like there's other things that might be living in here, other than the reds, or the African Nightcrawlers here. Because there's a lot of stuff in here that doesn't look like what I added, like especially for grit. Usually my stuff's kind of small, and this looks a little bit less granular than I expected. And we've got something crawling right here. So I'm gonna get that in frame right there. So I'm guessing, I bet that is fruit fly of some sort, but which is surprising. I didn't see any fruit flies when I opened this up. But I don't know, maybe they are in here, and let's just see if I can get a zoomed in close-up view of this here, if I can find them again. Alright, well, we'll keep digging. But it looked like that might have been some sort of larva stage, which is surprising since I've been adding BTI to the mix here, I think, when I added the water in here. So far, there's only the one worm, which is kind of worrisome. I was really hoping that I was worried that there might be none in here, but I was really, oh, wait, hold on. Hold on here. There we go. Another big one right here. Wait, actually, real quick, before I do anything, look at this worm in here. That is one worm going from end to end. That shows how long these Africans can get. They are big worms. So let's just keep going in here. I thought I saw another one. Yep, here's another one right here. So these are really, really long ones compared to the other side that we saw. And I'm seeing some bugs crawling around in here, which I did not see before. They don't look like fruit flies, though. I'm wondering if I have some fungus gnats in here or something. But there's not a lot of them, whatever it is. Let's just see here. We'll keep going here. This system just is not doing nearly as well as the other one is. Oh, hold on, here's another worm. Another African right here. At least they are doing a little better than they were when we first started, because it looks like there was none in here, I think, at first. So we might let this keep going with just a few worms we have in here and just see if this really expands. Which would be nice if they would continue to grow in population in here. And that way we can get more of these worms going. As I said, I really need to start moving through cardboard in my house. I just have so much of it between the Amazon boxes, as I'm sure some people are very familiar with how much you're ordering online, and then also a lot of the delivery stuff we get also comes in cardboard boxes as well. So that's it for this update. I think we're going to have to saturate this bin a little bit too. It's very, very dry. I don't want to add food to these, and part of that is because I don't feel there's enough worms to really consume the food. But we are going to add some more moisture to this bin before we put these worms back in. And the other thing I might do is just throw a paper bag on top, which will help kind of hold that moisture in and give them somewhere else to go. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some of our water with BTI in here. And there was a lot of moisture on the bottom before, but we're just going to kind of saturate it again. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did before, except I'm going to grab a paper bag here. Maybe not. All right, maybe I don't have a clean paper bag. You know what? I'll grab a sheet of paper here just to put across the top. So this is just regular white paper. It's actually been printed on one side. I'm going to get it wet here, and then we're going to lay it across the top. So what I'm hoping is that this just gives a place for the moisture to go, kind of latch onto a little bit. And that way, kind of a barrier as well before it hits the other part. Now I'm going to add these worms right back in. There's not a lot in this system compared to the other one. The other one had a nice amount. This one really doesn't have much at all. We're going to put these worms right back in here, but these are bigger. So these are much more mature worms. We're going to put them back in underneath this sheet of paper here. And that way they can start digging in. And hopefully the next time we check on this, we'll see a much larger population boom in this system. That's the ultimate goal of this, is to get this system filled with worms and get the other one filled as well. And then try to keep expanding outward. And my eventual goal is to actually do a time lapse of them tearing apart one of these bins. So with this one, I do have to say, I did do one thing that was really wrong with this system, and that is I did not add any castings from the previous system. And actually, you know what? We're going to remedy that right now. So what we're going to do, let me peel this back now that I think about it, because this is one of the things that was mentioned and I forgot all about, and I did this when I first got my Africans here, but I had actually taken a handful of castings and just put them in the paper to get that microbial population up. So I'm going to just grab a handful of castings from the system we just did. I'm going to kind of throw that right over here and put it, actually let's put it right underneath here near the worms. That's going to help that population out in there. There we go. And just start getting that microbial population going a little bit more maybe in this system. So with that, we'll close these up and we will be done probably for another month. I mean, we're not going to check on these very often. That's the whole point of this this experiment, is to just let them sit there and see how well they do and go from there. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I'll try to get back to you.